So I recommend that you make your Char Siu Bao filling first, that way it has some time to cool before you fill your bao. So go ahead and lob off about a quarter of the onion or so, and just peel it and finely dice it until you have a fine dice. So at this point you can add some celery, you can add some shiitake mushrooms, water chestnuts. None of those things are traditional, but feel free to add it if you like. Then once that's done, set it aside and just take your 1 pound of char siu or Chinese BBQ pork. I'm using, as you see here, store-bought char siu, and I just found the best quality barbecue pork that I could in my neighborhood. And I do like a leaner char siu. If you've eaten char siu before, some pieces are super fatty, but I personally like a leaner cut, but of course that's up to you. And if you want to be super extra, of course you can make your own char siu and Chinese barbecue pork. But yeah, either way, just go ahead and finely dice that up and set that aside. Then once you have that done, you want to take a small saucepan, just add 2 tablespoons of any sort of neutral flavor oil, like a grapeseed or canola, avocado oil even, if you're being very fancy, and hipstery. So then just go ahead and add your onion. And just mix it around, and your heat should be about medium or so. You don't want to burn it, but a little bit of caramelization is okay. Now at this point, you just want to add your liquid. So I'm using a homemade low sodium chicken stock here, but you can use water. You can even use vegetable stock. I mean, if that's the case, I would just recommend using water. These are not vegetarian buns because, obviously there's char siu. So you want to add some molasses for sweetness, along with some hoisin sauce that's a little bit sweet and salty, as well as 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, which definitely is salty, so be careful here. And it does have a little bit of that oyster flavor, but it's more like umami, I would say. It's not like overtly seafoody. So once it's bubbling away, and again your heat's about medium-high, you want to add your cornstarch slurry, which is simply just a combination of some cornstarch and water. That way it can really thicken up your mixture, and just let that cook for about 3 minutes until it's super thick and shiny and glossy looking, just like you see there. Once that's done, go ahead and just remove it from the heat and add your char siu, and just stir it around until everything's nicely coated in that nice Chinese barbecue sauce. So now let's get to the fun part. So we're going to make the Tangzhong for our bread dough. So you're going to need 39 grams of bread flour along with 195 mils or about 3/4 of a cup of milk. And you're just going to whisk that in a small saucepan just till it's nice and smooth. And then just take it over to your stovetop and heat it up over about medium heat until and make sure you're whisking all the while until it resembles a very thick white paste, just like you see there. And this mixture may seem a little unusual to add to bread dough, but trust me, it helps to hold on to that moisture and your bread will be fresh for days. So that's a secret to any Chinese or Asian type baos or bread, things like that. So then straight into the bowl of a stand mixer, you want to add the remaining flour. So it's going to be 351 grams of bread flour, along with 50 grams or 1/4 cup of granulated white sugar for a little sweetness, and 2 1/4 teaspoons of dried yeast, or 1 package of active dry yeast, along with 1 large room temperature egg and 1 large egg yolk, or 1 egg yolk of a large egg, I suppose. And then a little bit of salt and the remaining amount of milk. Then just go ahead and pop it into your KitchenAid mixer. Don't forget your Tangzhong, which is that flour and milk mixture that you cooked earlier, which should have cooled down by now. Then just go ahead and add your dough hook attachment and start it off on low speed and just let it knead for roughly 20 minutes or so, or until it's a very soft, smooth ball of dough. And while it's kneading, you do want to add 2 tablespoons or 26 grams of butter. So after about 20 minutes of kneading, and trust me, it really does need all that time because Tangzhong dough does have a tendency to take very long to knead, and you want it to look like something like this, where it still has some stick to the surface of your counter or whatever you're using, a pastry board or something like that, so it still adheres to it, as you see there. But overall, it still sticks to itself. So if you lift it up, even though it's adhering to the surface, if you lift it up, it does come off in one large mass. And it should be nice and smooth on top, just like you see there. And if you stick your finger in, it should leave an impression and then slowly spring back. So you know you're done kneading when that happens. Then go ahead and place it into a large, cleaned, lightly oiled bowl for it to proof for about 2 hours or so. Humongous. Oh my god. It smells nice and yeasty. Okay, the intention was not to have it proof this long, where it's like way past double in size. Look at it, oh my god. This is just fun. This is just fun. Edible science, people. Oh yeah. Anyway, I don't have all the time in the world, so let's just punch it down. Oh, it's super soft. Soft. It was voluptuous, no longer so. Let's do 8 buns. Aim for 8. And I have my handy dandy scale. In theory, I should have like weighed out the whole dough and then just divide that by 8, but you know, I want to make it more complicated for myself, so here we are. 86. Pretty even, 84. Take one of our little baby balls of dough, give it a quick roll around using that palming, cupping method. I don't know what you want to call it. Basically, you want to roll it around. You can use your 2 hands or 1 hand, just roll it like that so it's nice and smooth. And I like to flip it over. This is going to be inside of our bun. This is going to be the outside. I like the smoother side to be outside. Trust me, I learned that the hard way. Okay, then just take your rolling pin and just roll it out. So do roll it over in the center, but try to make special efforts to make the edges a little bit thinner. And you'll see why in a moment. So, okay, that's it. I have my filling over here, my Char Siu mixed with the barbecue sauce, the Chinese barbecue sauce. You can use chopstick, you can use spoon, whatever was easier to basically get about 1 tablespoon, like a heaping tablespoon, I suppose, of Char Siu. I like a lot of filling personally. So then, this is super easy. You just want to bring one edge over, knead it up with the opposite edge, do the same thing with the left side and the right side. Basically just pinching all edges together. It should seal itself with no issue there, no problem, super easy. Just pinch it, give it a really good pinch all around to make sure it does not, you know, leak out. We don't want any of that delicious filling leaking out. Then just flip it over and gently cup it in between your hands, in between your palms, and just rotate it, rock it, left and right. I mean, like a clockwise motion, I guess. And that way you get a nice sealed edge on the bottom. Okay, so nothing's coming out of this guy. Then just place it onto your baking sheet. So I got 2 buns here. My first one. I should cover it actually, I should cover it while I'm rolling the rest of them. But you do want to give them some space to grow up because they're little now, but they're going to grow up. So, and then we're going to eat them. So. Okay. Maybe like 2 inches or so. Yeah, I'm just going to put a third one on there. Just risk it, you know. So once you've rolled, filled, and shaped your little buns and placed them onto a lined baking sheet that's either lined with parchment paper or silicone mat like what I'm using here, you want to cover them with a lightly greased piece of plastic wrap or a damp towel just so they can stay nice and warm and cozy so they can grow up and double in size. And once that happens, you want to brush them gently with some egg wash, which is just a mixture of egg and either milk, cream, or water. And then just bake them off at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes or so, just until they're nice and beautiful and golden brown, just like any bread lover's delight. They look so glorious. Okay, so we got our Char Siu Bao here, and they look awesome. My God, look at that. They're pretty large, but you can make them smaller if you like. These are meal-sized Char Siu Baos. They're just light as air. Hopefully I put enough filling in there, but we'll see. But the bun itself is super soft. I can just feel it by touching it. It looks awesome. So I'll take the small one here. And you can just smell that Char Siu. Let's break it open. It did kind of leak out a little bit, like, you know, when I was filling it. Maybe I could have done a better job with sealing it, but let's see. Okay. Ooh, look at that. Oh my God, that bun has so much, it's just so fluffy. There's so much air in it. It's super soft. Oh my God. It's kind of like those Tangzhong milk breads that you see online. Let's just taste the bread first. Really, really good. And it has that, I don't know, it has that tenderness to it. Hard to describe other than it's very similar to like those Asian buns that you get at an Asian bakery. Let's try the filling with it. Perfect. A little bit salty, a little bit sweet, you know, from the bun and also from that filling. Char siu is kind of sweet and salty, so really good. Just like something you get from a Chinese bakery or even like a dim sum house, you know, when they're wheeling around the carts, sometimes they have Char Siu Bao. So now you know how to make it, which is really cool. But yeah, it's super, super soft. You can't beat fresh bread, you know, and when it comes to Tangzhong bread, you know, when we mix the flour and the water together, it really helps to retain that moisture in the bread, and it should stay soft like this for a number of days. So I'll have to try that theory, but you still have to, like, you know, store it in an airtight container and all that stuff too. So just keep that in mind. But I'm gonna finish this off. But make sure, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as hit that subscribe button for new recipes every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you back here next time. Bye. Cheers. Perfect with a cup of tea.